guys, so we've all been working on our fitness routines, right? But that means we get sore. And some of us get more sore than others, in some places more than others. That's what the foam roller's for. A lot of times we use it for myofascial release. We're also going to use it for a little active movement. We're going to use it short style most of the time, which means it makes like a baby T to your mat. Again, you do what you are supposed to do. Varicose veins, pregnancy, blood disorders, you got pain, you have a big swelling, things like that. You shouldn't be using this. Google who's allowed to use this or not and be smart, okay? Listen to your body. If it hurts too much, it's not the right thing for you, okay? But I love it. And we're gonna move today. We're gonna start with some of the bigger muscle groups because, you know, those are the ones we all know and love, right? And then we'll get into some of the smaller stuff. So let's start with quads. This is also active work. So you have to stay active as you do this work. So even though I'm gonna put the middle of my quad on the foam roller, I'm not gonna be like this, okay? I'm gonna stay active. If this hurts too much already, you're keeping your feet on the floor. My arms are a little ahead of my shoulders in a forearm plank because I'm going to be rocking. Otherwise, I'm lifting my feet up and I'm gonna roll forward and back. Notice I'm trying not to lift my hips up. If you notice, I'm also living in a very specific range of motion. So I'm not going to go over my hip joint right now, and I'm not going to go over my knee joint right now. Those are unstable when you put pressure against them like this. I keep breathing because if I don't, I'm going to tense my muscles more. Now this releases muscular tension as well as massages into that mystical world called fascia. Fascia needs to be hydrated. Things like massage, pressure point, myofascial release, those create pressure that hydrates fascia. Okay, so if this is enough, you're staying forward and back. Otherwise, I'm going to put a hand down and rotate slightly. So notice my front knee bent, I'm slightly on the outside of my left thigh, and I'm gonna roll. Whew. So this is a little more intense. Now we're getting to the bigger outer quad muscle and those tender little inner thigh muscles. Again, I am keeping my feet off the floor and I am staying active, right? It's very much like a supported side plank. 2 more. You can see my mat's fighting me a little bit. 1 more. Good, I'm gonna switch to the other side, which means you're gonna get a butt view so you can really see where I went. So I rolled over a little bit. So notice I'm not fully on the side of my thigh. I'm still a little forward. As I'm rolling, I'm still not going over the knee or the hip joint, right? And you can see me working for spinal alignment even here. 1 more. Good, now I'm gonna return to that facing forward quad. Now, if this is enough, you're gonna keep this. Otherwise, find a spot that sucks just a little bit harder. Make sure you're stable and active. Flex the feet, bend and straighten. Bend and straighten. 2 more. Abs are in as your knees bend, so we're not going into your back. 1 more. Now, if that's enough, you're going to keep it. Otherwise, hold on top. Ooh, tick tock. Tick tock the feet side to side. Find a second spot. Beautiful. The closer to the knee, the tighter the muscle sometimes. Good. I'm going to roll it up a little. Find 1 more spot. And then I'm going to release. Now, I'm having equipment issues. You might be too. This isn't my normal mat. I'm at my family's house. I'm not used to how it moves. I got to figure out how it moves. That's part of my job today. Okay, so those were the quads. Let's do calves and hamstrings. People with wrist issues, you can be on forearms or knuckles, but you really should try to be upright here. If you don't feel a lot of pressure when we start to do this, you can always lift the hips up. So if you have real wrist and hip issues, you just go to a spot and maybe you circle your ankles and tick-tock your legs side to side. In a perfect world, hips up, and we're rolling. And again, notice, shoulders and abs are at work, right? I'm not sinking, I'm not sloppy. Good, I like 4 rolls, forward and back, and I like full range, but it's up to you. You can do half range, you can do a few less rolls or a few more. Good, and then I'm gonna do what I did. Oh, that's a spot. I'm gonna do what I did, and you can flex or point depending on what gives you the most activation. on quads. I'm going to rotate a little. So notice my hips are facing you a little bit as I roll the inside of the left and the outside of the right. Then I'm going to roll across. As I did that, I'm still keeping active in my abdominals. I'm still working through my arms. 2 more. 1 more. Good. Land. Again, if you needed to stay down, maybe you were sitting here and just rolling and rocking. Okay, find a spot that's a little tense. Okay, circle. It moves around the calf muscles. There's 2 big calf muscles. So I'm moving around and across, and then I'm just gonna rock a little bit. Again, I never went over my knee or my ankle joint, right? We are gonna stay with that wrist arm work 1 second longer because we're gonna do hamstrings. Some people say they don't feel hamstrings. Again, pick the spot that feels right to you. Good, some people say they don't feel hamstrings. It's okay, it's still good to roll them out. If you really wanna feel it a little more, flex the bottom foot. There we go, now I got my spot. Cross the top foot over it. Now I'm still staying relatively parallel, still pushing with my shoulders, but I'm gonna roll it out a little bit. Oh, see, for me, that's a spot. So I'm breathing as I go. Good, then I'm gonna stay in that spot. I'm just gonna roll a little side to side. Ooh, see, that's a tight one. Keep breathing, even if it hurts, right? Holding the breath makes it worse. Then I'm gonna switch. If you need to come down in between, you can, right? Abs are in. Again, notice I'm not going over my knee joint. I'm not going over the base of the hip joint. I am working through the shoulder and ab. If you need knuckles, you are. If you need forearms, you are. Good, I'm gonna roll a little out. For some of us, rolling out puts us near that IT band, and we don't like that, so just be careful about what you can handle. Then I'm gonna pick a spot. This one's a little more internal, and I'm gonna roll. And 1 more. And I'm gonna lower down. Nice, I'm gonna stretch my wrists out. Now, in addition to doing my legs, right? So that was pretty gross motor legs. We're also gonna do our wrists in a moment, our forearms, so I promise I'll give you a little release. This one's a little harder to set up. We are going to do our side body. So it's gonna be inner thigh. In this position, your head can be a pillow. I like a prop. This foam roller, I'm gonna keep my bottom leg nice and straight, okay? Bottom leg straight. Right now, the foam roller is directly in line with my body. I'm gonna bring it up to the middle of my quad, point the top part away from me. So now I have this like Y shape in my body. Top leg is going over the foam roller, and I'm gonna roll. Now I'm gonna find the spot that works for me. As I roll, I'm opening the hip. Notice I'm not really dumping the chest, so I'm not trying to roll too far here right now. I'm getting movement around the spine, so nice rotation, even as I massage my inner thigh. My foot is off the ground so that I have a little more pressure down on the leg. I'm gonna go 1 more place, and I'm gonna stay there. I'm gonna flex my foot, and if it's okay, I'm gonna internally and externally rotate. That's gonna place pressure into the spot where I have the foam resting. It's also going to work into the hip socket. Good, 1 more. Then I'm gonna leave it there for a second. I'm gonna rest because for me, this is a lot tighter to be just like this. Maybe having the foot up is tighter for you, right? Good, now I do want you to be careful. We're gonna choke up on this a little bit. I still don't want you on top of the foam roller with your hip socket, but now it's gonna come a little higher, a little closer, and it's gonna be right up towards the top of that thigh. This for me is a place, okay? So this, even this tiny range of motion is really making my inner upper thigh muscles go, ooh. So I'm really trying to focus on breathing. Notice I'm trying to keep the tension out of my face and neck, right? 1 more. And then again, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna find a spot. I'm gonna see if I can lift my foot up and tap my foot down. Now for me, the tapping is a lot more. So I'm gonna focus on that. And 1 more. Beautiful. Now you get to just switch to the other side. I'm gonna flip where I am on the mat, because then I get to stay facing you. And we're gonna do the other leg. So you're lying down on your opposite side. Foam roller directly against the line of the body, both legs straight. You bring it up mid-thigh. You point it away from the shoulder, top leg on, and roll. Now as I'm rolling, I'm opening up behind the hip. If you notice, again, it's active. I'm getting a nice little work through the oblique and through those spine muscles, right? All the muscles running down the length of the spine, they get a stretch, and then they get to work to return me to alignment. One more. Good. On the next one, I'm going to stay. I'm going to flex my foot. I'm going to internally and externally rotate. Beautiful. As I'm working, that's a spot for me. As I'm working, I'm still staying supported, right? I'm not being sloppy. I'm focusing and I'm going slow, so I'm feeling the work. Beautiful. Then I'm going to let it rest for a second. Yeah, that's a spot. And I'm going to breathe. Cool. Then I'm going to bring it in a little bit. I'm going to choke up on it. Again, I'm not going over the joint. I'm not saying go right against the joint, but I am up at the very upper thigh here. And I'm going to roll forward and back. If I can, my foot is off the floor. And I'm breathing. It's a much lesser range of motion, a much deeper, intense place for me specifically. And I'm going to hold, and then I'm going to lift, and I'm going to tap. Now, on this side, the tapping is hard, but so is the lifting. That's because my body has imbalances, right? One leg turns out more than the other, things like that. So on this one, this is my turn out leg. So that means that the internal needs a little bit more work as well. One more. And then I'm going to rest. And it feels good. It actually feels really nice, right? Cool. Okay, since we're already lying on our side, we're going to go up the arm, starting from teres lat scapula. So this foam roller is going short style still. I'm going to lean. Notice I'm not under my armpit and I'm not down at the base of my rib. I'm going to put my hand behind my head. I'm going to put my other hand on the foam roller. I'm going to roll back a little bit. I'm going to look for a spot that has a little bit more tightness to it. So notice there's a little adjustment. You're going to, oh, there's my spot. You're going to find this for yourself. So I'm slightly rolled open. I've got my hand up, right? But my elbow relatively open. Ah, there we are. So for me, yes, this is teres, but this is also a little bit wrapping towards the back of the scapula. My head is supported by my hand. If you find a spot that's good, stay there. Open and close the elbow. If that's too much, don't do it. 2. And 1. If you want to go to a second spot, please do so. You are welcome to do so, okay? You can pause me and do that. I'm going to flip on my back so you can see where I'm at from the opposite side. So again, finding a spot between my rib and my armpit. My bottom hand rests. My top hand is behind my head. If you notice, my hips stay stacked. I find a place, and it's just a little roll. So I'm almost doing like a little crunch, right? I'm working into the abs. I'm keeping weight, and you can see I'm rolled back a little bit, but I'm not flat against the foam. 1 more. Good. I'm going to stay here, bend and straighten. And again, I'm staying in this position so you can see. As I bend and straighten at the shoulder, I don't move this other shoulder. 1 more. Beautiful. Okay. Behind the shoulder blade. So I'm wearing a sports bra. I'm literally at the base of my sports bra. We are not going into the lumbar. Put your hand behind your lumbar, right behind your belly button. Put your hand behind your neck. You are not going in these 2 places. That's the last time you're making contact there for a couple minutes, okay? Hands behind the head, shoulders down and back. Lift the hips up. Oh, it's a bridge, isn't it? Lean back a little bit. Roll forward just to the top of the shoulder blade. Roll back. Now I'm going to walk my feet a little forward for a little more range. As I roll forward, I keep my hips up and my shoulders back. Again, notice, not behind the belly button, not on the cervical spine. 2 more. If you have a ponytail, I hope you're holding it in your hand, because otherwise you just rolled over your own hair. And 1 more. Now, if you have a really healthy back, neck, and shoulders, you stay up and you rotate side to side. If you're like most of us, you lower your hips down. And you flex side to side, right? Big lateral stretch. Head supporting hand. I've still got a nice lean against that foam roller. Beautiful. Big stretch over if it's comfortable. And up. We'll do cervical at the end. Okay, let's come to a kneeling position facing the foam. So I'm going to rotate mine a little bit so you can see a little better. We're going to do those wrists and forearms I promised, okay? Take your right hand, be like, stop in the name of love, right? Flex it. Take your left hand, put it over the top, holding hands, right? But from behind. Flex that right wrist back, put it on the foam. You're gonna pull the right elbow outward as you roll that foam forward and back. Notice I'm not going over the elbow joint and I'm not going over the wrist joint, but I am rolling through the forearm muscle and some of the muscles that work up to the wrist itself. 2 more. 1 more. If you find a spot that's intense, stay there. Give a little roll side to side or dig in a little bit, wag side to side, right? Cool, and then relax that. Take that same hand that was in stop and look at it like you have something in your palm, right? So you can see the lines of your hand. Hold your hand for real and pull backward, right? So now I'm flexing at the wrist. I'm gonna put the arm down and I'm gonna pull the elbow across my body, opposite direction. And once again, I'm gonna roll. And as I roll, not the elbow joint, not the wrist joint. Good. If you have trouble kneeling on the floor, can you put a foam roller on a higher surface so that you don't have to have your knees bent? Yeah, you can. And 1 more, as long as it's safe and stable. Then again, pick a spot. Maybe you give a roll, maybe you give a wag. What feels good to you? Gorgeous. Shake it out. Feel how different one feels from the other. Stop in the name of love, right? Hand out. Hold the back of the hand. Bring the forearm down, pull the elbow away from you. Roll. As we're rolling, we're breathing. Notice I'm still active in my body. All my writers, all the people who suddenly decided to journal a lot, you're feeling this. 1 more, hold. Anyone who texts like crazy, side to side or rub it out. Beautiful. Then we take it, we flip it over. Oh, hey, lifeline, right? Hold your hand, flex, bend your arm, put your elbow down, elbow pulls in across the body, and we roll again. And we're breathing. And 1 more. And you pick a spot. And then you wag or you roll. What is it for you, right? And 1. And release that. This one's a little tricky. Bum on the foam. You can fall. Be careful. Sitting. Okay? I'm sitting on the foam. My hands go behind me. You can be on knuckles. I'm going to take my right ankle over my left knee. Okay? I'm going to take my right hand to my left hand to my right knee. See? Even I get tangled. I'm going to lean a little. So I want you to be able to see I'm leaning across the pelvis this time. And I'm breathing. And I'm supporting. And I'm going to roll a little. If you sit up more, you'll get more towards the piriformis itself. So you'll be rolling towards those sits bones. If you roll back a little bit, you'll get a little bit more to that mid and max of the glute. Good. We're breathing as we roll. This one can be pretty intense. And be careful. My pants are slippery. I've got a little glide on here. I got to watch myself, right? 1 more. Good. Find a spot that's good for you. If that's enough, stay. Otherwise, little internal, external rotation. So I'm just digging a deeper pathway into those knots, trigger points, and muscles. 1 more. Cool. And then I'm going to switch. 2 hands down, 2 feet down. I'm going to scooch over a little bit. My right hand is going to go to my left knee with my left knee crossed. Again, my pelvis lifts. So I don't just move my knees, I lift my hip and I'm going to roll. And again, a little higher up is a little more piriformis, right? Tight little muscle in the butt. A little lower down, that's a spot. Is a little more max and mid, right? Breathing as we go. Good. 1 more. Then what do? We pick a spot. And if we can, internal, external. So we get a little hip movement. We get a little additional pressure. 1 more. Beautiful. I'm going to sit down on the ground. I'm going to put the foam roller behind me. I'm going to carefully lower down. I will not lift my hips. Promise me you will not lift your hips. You just let your neck rest on the foam roller like the firmest pillow in the world. And you breathe. Bent, straight, butterfly, wherever you're comfortable and safe. And if this is enough, you stay and you breathe. Otherwise, notice I'm not going to lift my head up. I'm just going to slow no. So this is stretching across the SCM into the shoulder and rotate. It's stretching behind the neck into those extensors and rotators, side to side. If you keep the head heavy, you get some of that tight, nasty stuff that's up at the axis. Good. Gentle, gentle. And keep my shoulders open. Last one. Then I'm going to square it out and I'm going to push the foam roller back. And I'm going to lay flat and I'm going to breathe for a second. And it feels so nice. It feels so nice because now, even though I've been working hard, I've also massaged so many points of my body where I hold tension. And that tension is released and my body is open. And you know what it's ready for? Tomorrow's workout. So make sure you're foam rolling every so often if you can. And I look forward to seeing you in the next session.